Everybody, Madison here with Health by Ratio, and in this video, we are going to be talking about the importance of fulfilling service in regards to our own personal health and fitness. So this is one of the 5 pillars of our program at Health by Ratio, what we cover with our clients. And this video is a little bit unique because normally every week, we do what we call our weekly Q&A call. It's a topic on one of our 5 pillars of health, which is mindset, movement, nutrition, environment, and fulfilling service. That's one of the themes that we do every week in one of our Q&A topics. And it's normally a video that I record and it's shared privately amongst our members and housed on our members only website. But this week, I had some technical difficulties in the recording, and after I spent all this time recording this video on the point where I went to actually download it so that I could upload it to our website, the computer crash didn't work and I lost the whole video. And because I'm lazy, I needed to do a video post anyway for our YouTube and Facebook channels, and I decided that I was going to just tie this topic into what I was going to post, as well as what I'm going to share with our Health by Ratio clients. So HBR clients, for those of you tuning in, you're like, why what the heck is going on? This is going to be a little bit different than normal. One, I'm going to do shout outs and welcomes at the end of the topic. So I want to cover the topic first and foremost, and then I'll cover the shout outs for you guys at the end. And for this week only, I'm going to be skipping our usual mindset technique, the little meditation that we start off our calls with to put us in the right frame of mind. If you really miss it, if you want that thing this week, it's housed on our mindset section of our members only website. And obviously you can watch any of the other recordings of our Q&A calls and you can follow along just that beginning mindset section. All right. So without further ado, let's jump into fulfilling service. And first and foremost, why the heck is it even applicable for our personal, like, we all know that that's important. Fulfilling service is a good thing. Like, we need to be able to serve and support the people around us to cultivate healthy relationships and all that kind of stuff. But why does it matter for us personally? Well, I want to give you, ask you a couple of questions and kind of visualize this for me. So let's say you just got done with your soul-sucking job, working in a terrible environment that just is brutal on your stress, anxiety, all that kind of stuff. Or maybe you spent all day just feeling like you were lecturing and yelling at the kids and telling them what not to do, whatever it was. Like, so you just had a day that was just brutal. Well, you finally get some time to yourself, whether it's later on that night or whether it's the next morning, and you're probably feeling a little bit stiff, a little bit sore, a little bit achy. Maybe you're dealing with an injury that you need to rehab. And so I got to do either some stretching, I need to do some foam rolling, or I need to do some of my corrective exercises, or like for my fitness goals, I know I need to get my killer workouts in to achieve what I want to, all that good stuff. Well, what's the likelihood that you're going to have the energy to do those things? How motivated are you when everything around you is making you stressed and anxious or lethargic and whatever? Like, how likely are we to actually do the things that we know are in line with our health and fitness goals? Well, I think we can all say it's going to diminish. We might succeed some days, but there's going to be a lot of days where we're either going to just go through the motions or we're going to skip it altogether because we just don't have it in us. Then on the actual like physiological side, in terms of the hormones that are produced, well, what gets created when we're stressed out, anxious, angry, all that kind of stuff? Well, inflammatory hormones, things like cortisone are produced, or cortisol, I said cortisone, cortisol are produced. And what does that do? That inflames us, that deteriorates our immune system, at chronic levels of it at least. And it also, it beats us up on the energetic level. So there's physiological reasons why these things matter. So to me, how we can easily resolve some of these, like I said, soul crushing or unmotivating things that we do on a daily basis is when we can change our frame of mind to fulfilling service. And there's some really simple things that we can do that make all the difference in the world. And for me personally, I had to go through this because when I first got into this industry, I was motivated because in terms of with what my team and I specialize in is reconditioning our clients back to full ranges of stable motion. And we take them through a holistic approach to get them out of those recurring pains and injuries and moving back toward full ranges of stable motion. I've been doing that and then progress toward their fitness goals. Like we want to bridge the gap towards their active lives that they want. Well, I've been taking that holistic approach beyond the last handful of years with Health by Ratio, but I was doing it for a decade before in my own brick and mortar facilities. And I originally got into this because of my own personal experiences. I went through 8 straight seasons, 8 straight years of chronic recurring injuries to the like areas like my ankles and my back and a barrage of other areas of my body, my hips, my neck, my shoulder. And they were serious things that either kept me from playing my sport or kept me in chronic pain and kept me from exercising, like impacted my life drastically. And I figured out that, hey, there's a reason why these things are happening. I got these imbalances. I have these movement deviations, or I also have this terrible frame of mind about my health. I have bad eating habits that aren't like giving my body the nutrients to heal, bad sleeping habits, all this kind of stuff. Like, and I realized that there was a holistic way for me to heal my body and get back to the active lifestyle that I loved and feel better than ever. So I got really passionate about it because I was living it, right? And then I started working with clients and over the years worked with hundreds of clients personally, and then trained dozens and dozens, I think over 100 coaches that worked under me and for me, and therefore managed and helped cultivate their programs for their own clients. So at any given time had several hundred people that I was influencing. It was really rewarding, like whether it was my clients or whether it was my coaches' clients. Like I had my hands in helping so many people all at once. It was a blast. But I ended up getting to a point where I started taking it for granted. I ended up being like, this is just what I do. Like I help people achieve their health and fitness goals. This is fun. That's great. It's just what I do. And I started moving my focus and my goals more toward the financial aspects. And I've talked about this in some other posts, actually just of recent, when I was talking about a substance that I was abusing for 6 straight years, basically. Well, technically about 4.5 years, and then small break and then relapse for another year and a half. But I was using a substance to kind of cope with the chronic stress and anxiety I was feeling on the mental emotional side around my financial goals. And it was all self-inflicted. It wasn't, it was stuff that like my family and I were not in a bad place, but I wanted to achieve more, make more, earn more, save more, whatever. And so I was focusing not on serving and that fulfillment that I was getting. I was focusing on earning more, growing the business more, blah, blah, blah. And that I shifted my focus for a handful of years towards that. And I didn't really realize what I was doing. And then one day I was fed up. I was like, this is brutal. I don't enjoy my life. I'm not doing the things that I need to do to make myself feel better. I feel like I'm just taking steps in the wrong direction. And it's because I'm just unmotivated to do everything. And I'm just going through the motions, and I'm always stressed. I'm struggling all the time and feeling like it's impacting my energy, my relationships, all that kind of stuff. And I realized it's because I'm focusing on the wrong things. It clicked. I don't remember what book I was reading or what podcast I was listening to, but something just clicked with me that I realized you're not focusing on serving anymore. You are serving people, you are helping people, but that's not your motivation. Your motivation is your business's growth and your own financial goals. Like, get back to the things that made you passionate about this in the first place. Like, get back to the goal of serving others. And it totally flipped with me. And so the way that I was able to do this was basically something that I was able to kind of take across all aspects of my life, whether it was my relationship with my wife, whether it was the colleagues that worked for me, whether it was the clients that I was working with, whatever. I was able to take this technique and allow me to redevelop my fulfilling service back, and it all of a sudden gave me that fulfillment. It gave me a purpose and a joy to what I was doing. And all of a sudden, the quality of my workouts improved. My energy levels grew like crazy. The fun and the joy that I had with like the experience that I was having with my wife exponentially improved, and our friends exponentially improved. So I was all of a sudden more pleasurable to be around, so it impacted everything. So the way that I do this, and this is something that we've all heard about before, but it just kind of clicked with me in a different way that resonated and was allowed me to help so many others, is focusing on always listening compassionately, always listening to whoever I'm communicating with compassion, trying to turn off the incessant thoughts in my brain that naturally want to think about, how am I going to respond to this? What do I need to recommend? What's the next thing that I need to say in this conversation? And instead just listen to the person and try to understand where they're coming from as best I possibly can, and be present in the moment. So an example to this is like if my wife came to me and she had an issue with her friend, and she was or with her job or whatever that day, and she was telling me about it, instead of me thinking, well, what can I tell her to say to her friend, or what can I tell her to say to her boss, or what can I tell her to do next, or whatever, instead of that, I focused on what is she saying? What is she feeling? And just listening. And so it was very similar actually to the technique that I covered a couple of weeks ago on, again, that post on addiction and the mindset technique that I use to kind of click into the present moment, where the very quick recap is essentially taking 3 breaths and focusing on the sensation of your nose, taking 3 breaths and focusing on the sensation at the back of your palate, the back of your throat as the air comes down, and then taking 3 breaths and being aware, being the awareness behind the breath. So feeling like you're behind the breath, aware of the breath. So all of a sudden you become aware that you're the awareness. You're not the sensation of the breath. You're aware of the sensation of the breath. Well, it kind of clicks you out of the incessant stream of thoughts. Well, the same thing can go on the auditory side. So I believe it's Locke Kelly's book, Shift into Freedom. This is one of the very first techniques that he covers. It's a great book that gives you all these different dozens of different ways that you can kind of click into the moment. And this is the very first one that I think that he covers that clicked with me, was you can use sound or even your thoughts to click into being the awareness. So how he kind of demonstrates it is start off by saying one word repetitively in your head, and start with something that like doesn't have any meaning to you. So blah could be the example, BLAH, blah, like blah blah blah. And so you say that in your head, blah, and then pay attention to the silence between, then say it again, blah, silence, blah. So you become aware of the silence in between each time you say blah, blah. Then be aware that there's always the silence. It just happens to be that blah comes to the forefront for a brief second and then passes away. So the way I kind of thought of it is that the silence is like the canvas or the whiteboard or whatever. Blah comes up, and then it immediately just falls off the canvas, or it gets erased immediately. So the whiteboard's always there, the blah gets written, and then it's immediately gone. But the whiteboard never goes away. Well, the silence never goes away. It's just there's blah over top of it. So it's kind of like the silence is the sky, and blah is the cloud passing in front of, or passing over the sky. But the sky is always prevalent. And then all of a sudden you become aware of the silence, and you're aware of just the word appearing and going away. So you kind of detach from your thoughts a little bit. Well, the same thing can go in terms of can go with how we are listening to our loved ones, to our colleagues, to our friends, to our clients, whatever. We can focus on clearing the mind and being present in the moment, and just being the awareness of what we are hearing them say. And that also allows, like, if it has to do with me, if it's a complaint or yes, a complaint toward me where I would naturally start to get defensive or angry or start to think about, well, yeah, I was justified in that, and that was like, don't tell me that I should have texted you when I went home. I always I do this every week, and I never text you. Why would I have to text you this time? That doesn't make sense. Like, instead of something getting into an argument with my wife or whatever the scenario is, I can that awareness of being the awareness allows me to feel and be aware of that emotion arising. I'm like, you're starting to get defensive. Okay, well, I'm allowed, but like, let's just let that be, and let's keep focusing on what they're saying. Or if I hear it, or if thoughts start coming up into my mind, I'm the awareness of the thoughts, and so I can let them pass by a little bit more, and then focus back on the person and try to listen as compassionately as possible. It gives me the space to respond as compassionately as possible. So I don't have to agree with my wife every time. I don't have to agree with the challenge that my colleague is going through or whatever, but I can understand where they're coming from. And so I don't have to respond in a defensive way, or I don't have to respond with a specific recommendation. I can just say, okay, I hear you. I understand where you're coming from. And I might throw in my 2 cents at that point, but I'm coming from a place of trying to listen to them and serve them with compassion, to support them with compassion. And it brings about a deep level of fulfillment every day, where if I can listen to our clients and what they're going through, what challenges they're going through, and I can feel into what they are saying and where they must be coming from, it allows me to support them with that compassion as best as I can. And by the end of the day, even if I made mistakes, even if I dropped the ball, even if I whatever at certain times, I can walk away from it and say, I did my best to help everybody that I worked with today, to serve them, support them as best as I can. And that makes me feel rewarded. And so then it's time for my own workout. It's time for my own foam rolling. It's time for my own corrective exercise or whatever. And I'm motivated to do it because I have that peace in me. I have that joy in me. I have that fulfillment in me. So that's how this is a holistic aspect of health and one of the 5 pillars of our health. So that was what I wanted to chat about today. I hope you got some great, just kind of maybe a different way of hearing about active listening or living in compassion, and maybe it resonated a little bit differently. If it did, let me know. Give me a thumbs up in the comments, or give me your 2 cents, comment it down below. Let me know how you liked it. I would really appreciate it. And then beyond that, I'm going to transition to shout outs and stuff. Beyond that though, guys, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or feel free to follow us on Facebook. We're always putting out weekly content, and we try to cover these topics of the 5 pillars of health. And obviously we specialize in that movement pillar in particular, in terms of getting people moving back toward full ranges of stable motion so they can live a healthy, abundant, and fit life that they desire. So let's transition really quick to some shout outs before I got a jet now. So shout outs, guys. I wanted to first welcome and shout out Gina and Pete to the Health by Ratio program. You guys both have been jumping in right away. Gina, you're already busting out corrective exercises and tearing it up. And Pete, you've been doing amazing at your releases. I love how your body's already responding. Coach Heather said you did awesome on the call yesterday. So that was great. I'm pumped at the direction both of you guys are already jumping off to. I wanted to give a big shout out to Marit, who's getting ready for the Boston Marathon and has been able to get that ankle and hip feeling really good really quickly. I'm pumped at where you're at. I think you're going to have a blast. Wanted to give a shout out to Stacy with that ankle heading in the right direction and that huge adjustment on the shoulder, and how that was a huge corner that you turned. So I'm pumped that happened. Chris, who had a great program update last week, you were moving incredibly well with all those corrective exercises. I love how your body's been feeling, and so I'm super impressed. Great work. Gay, that was a phenomenal final reassessment. I'm where your body's moving now to where it was a handful of months ago is night and day. I love that you're back to running. I can't tell you how impressed I am. You've done amazing work. Obviously, we're not going away. We look forward to hearing progress reports and all the exciting stuff that you're able to do as you keep going through your ongoing program. Lynn, who had a great reassessment and program update with me. I was like, I'm pumped at how your body's moving. I like the new program that we're implementing with you is awesome. I love that you went through the full body reset. You're going to tear it up. I like continue to tear it up. So that was great. Greg, again, great job on opening up those hips. You balance out the left and the right hip so much more. I love that we're working on like some more functional stability for that speed work and tempo work that you're doing. Travis, great job on your reassessment, man. We're going to get even better as you are able to hone in your program even more so in terms of your schedule and all that good stuff. That's what we're going to tackle on our next call, but like already some huge improvements. So those guys are the main shout outs I wanted to give. And then for Health by Ratio clients, next week, same bat time, same bat channel, and we'll go from there. And we'll obviously be chatting with you on WhatsApp and reconditioning calls and all that good stuff. All right, guys, talk soon.